Game one of the NLDS was a disaster. I don't think there's any other way to say it. We're going to talk about how the Cubs can rebound, why it was a bad idea to start Matthew Boyd, but it's in retrospect now, how bad it was to get Michael Soroka, and what a disaster he's been for the Cubs. But maybe it's not over yet, because it's not over yet. I'm going to give you one of Buddy Bailey's, the late, great Cubs minor league instructor and manager's philosophies on a team that scores a lot of runs and how that may affect them down the road, and it might benefit the Cubs. All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Out in Vegas still, guys. I got the strip behind me. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, and let's get this party started. Hey, everybody, Mick Nation, Cubs Baseball channel. And before we do anything else, I want to put this on the screen and let you know that you have a chance to win tickets to Game 3 or Game 4. We're giving away tickets to the Cubs and the Brewers at Wrigley Field. I want you guys to qualify to do it. All you have to do is hit that QR code right there and play along. It's all free. We give out weekly cash prizes. We give away swag, all that. AveD, Cubs Baseball channel, Mick Nation. All right, let's get into the crux of this Matthew Boyd situation. First off, it bombed. And you know that. I don't think I'm telling you anything that you didn't see for yourself. And looking back at it, and I thought about this at the time, and I probably should have voiced it a little bit louder than I did. I thought it was a bad idea from the outset. They got their ace going, Freddie Peralta. He's really good. And I know that the Cubs are shorthanded right now with Cade Horton out. But Matthew Boyd on 3 days rest, starting pitchers don't normally work like that. Now, I get it. We don't really even have starting pitchers anymore. I mean, they are the first guys in the game, but they're not even going to qualify for a win because they're not even going to be allowed to pitch that long, especially in the postseason. They're going to get him out of the game, and that's what happened. They're probably looking, going, well, he had 50-some pitches. You know, he's going to throw a bullpen anyway. Let's just put him in the game, and this is what happened. Pitchers are creatures of habit. You know, starters like kind of having a routine. And guys that can't handle a routine are in the bullpen, and they don't know. Hey, you're going to pitch today. Maybe you're not. Boyd just was awful. There's no other way to say it. If the Cubs are going to win this series, he's got to bounce back. And my question is, when would he bounce back? When can he pitch again? And how is it going to line up the rest of this series? When's Boyd ready to go? 2/3 of awful pitching. Will he be ready on his normal rest? Is he going to have to wait 5 more days? I don't know. The good thing is that they've spread this thing out enough, the series, where it's, you played on Saturday, you're off today, you play on Monday, you're off again, then you play on Wednesday, so you could get there. I'm just curious to know what their thought is on all of this, because like I said before, Boyd's got to give you something. And what he did in game 1 was awful. Michael Soroka came in and again was terrible. Is he back too soon? What a bad trade, though, for the Cubs. And I don't blame the Cubs for this one. It looked like a pretty good deal. They didn't want to give up, and I know there's a lot of you guys that are out there going right now, why didn't we go and fortify the rotation when we could have at the deadline? And I'm not going to argue with you. But when I look at this roster, I still don't think they match up with the Phillies or the Dodgers. I think they could beat the Brewers. And then, if you get by them, you're probably going to play the Yankees in the World Series. You're going to be able to beat all those teams. Maybe, maybe not. And I think that's the thing that frustrates you guys, is that you look at the playoffs right now and you're like, there's not a dominant team. But I'll tell you, the Dodgers and the Phillies have really good rosters to me. And the Dodgers are probably the team to beat. They've been the favorite to win the World Series all year, and they're starting to really come into their own now that these games count. And I'd love to see the Cubs throw a monkey wrench in it. But Soroka, just hot garbage. Again, you bring him in the game. He can't even give you any innings. He can't even throw strikes. You traded something to get him. Shame. The guy pitched 2 innings and got hurt. Was he hurt when the Cubs got him? I think it's a fair question to ask. Disaster. And if he never pitches again, it wouldn't bother me. And I was saying before when he was on the injured list that I didn't know if he was ever going to pitch again. I get for the Cubs. I thought, well, you're looking at the roster and you're going, do you really want to put this guy on there? Maybe just because you traded for him, but just terrible. The fact that he couldn't come in and throw strikes bothers me, and get him out of the way. I like the fact that the team fought really hard and they never gave up. But you get the 1-0 lead, and then they give up 9 runs in 2 innings. And this Brewers team isn't even a hitting team. But when you throw it out over the middle of the plate, they're going to hit it, or you can't throw strikes. Now, I did want to bring this up. We talked about our friend Buddy Bailey, longtime Cubs minor league manager and instructor, who passed away a little over a week ago. He used to have this saying, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm going to tell you guys. And maybe it's more a philosophy than a saying. When you have a team that goes out there and drives in all these runs and you got all these guys scoring, you say you get tired. And maybe with the day off, this doesn't matter. This doesn't, it doesn't like stick. But his thought was, you got all these games that you play, and then all of a sudden your team or the other team scores a bunch of runs. They're hitting the ball, they're on base, they're running, they get tired, and then the next day you can't get anything out of anybody. And he said that, right? And I was sort of thinking, well, there's a lot of times you see that, like a team scores, and if you're smart, maybe you get players out early to rest them, but then, you don't want to blow the big lead, right? Maybe the Brewers are tired from all the runs that they scored in the first 2 innings. I don't know. But I always thought that was interesting, kind of a thought process from Buddy Bailey. We don't know what the starting pitching is going to look like right now, the rotation. I said it a second ago. I just wonder what Matthew Boyd is going to look like moving forward in the series. The Yankees got beat up by Toronto. You play those 3-game series, and maybe your pitching doesn't line up. Cubs are just going to have to trust the guys that got them there. Maybe Colin Ray should have started that game 1. And then you said, hey, look, they got their best guy. They're supposed to win that game. We're going to throw Colin Ray out there. There's a reason why Colin Ray always has a winning record. It's not beautiful. He's not overpowering. But he just keeps you in the game. And that's not what Boyd did in his start. And I know, look, the other part of this is that the Cubs are without their best pitcher, Cade Horton. With the injury, the rib cage injury, he's starting to throw off the flat ground. Hopefully he'll be ready if the Cubs can win this series for the winner of the Dodgers and the Phillies. But at the end of the day, what the Cubs got to do is just worry about game 2 and see if they can figure out a formula that would get them to win that one, and then worry about game 3. It's not, the series isn't over. And I still think the Cubs have a really good chance to win it. Something that I didn't talk about on the last show, but I want to talk about, was the Padres upset about that strike 3 call. That was a bad call, right? Next year, they'll be able to appeal that, and they could get it reversed because they're going to add that to Major League Baseball. But how about the Padres screaming at the umpires in the dugout on the way off the field in that last game at Wrigley? I thought that was interesting, because that team's going to be broken up, and you get frustrated in these games, but it is what it is, right? Anyway, Cubs will play at night in Milwaukee tomorrow, we'll be covering that. If something happens, we'll let you know on that as well. But this series is far from over. The Brewers had to win that game. And honestly, I feel like this one's kind of a must-win for them. I could see the Cubs rolling them up for 3 straight wins and getting them out. I really could. But the pitching's got the Cubs front office has to do a better job of figuring out who's starting, because the Matthew Boyd thing absolutely backfired. And not only did it backfire for that game, but now when are you going to have him back? And it was an unnecessary risk, right? And I think that's the part that frustrates me the most. Anyway, guys, QR code right there. Mick Nation. Sign up for Cubs tickets, playoff tickets at Wrigley Field. Cubs and Brewers. Make sure that you're part of AveD. It's all free. And then get in the comments section, like, subscribe, thumbs up. Thanks for being here. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again tomorrow. I unless something breaks, but who knows? Anyway, thank you guys. Go Cubs.
When you head to the Smoky Mountains, it's only natural to visit Sevierville.
Even we had to check it out.
And we've been here our whole lives.
Experience the adventure of a lifetime.
I'm king of the world.
Even you can get a bird's eye view of the Smokies.
You're going down, Billy. Whoa.
Your Smokies start here.